So is there any doubts before proceeding further to the next methods? Do you guys have any doubts? What is the doubt? What is the doubt? Can I get to know what is your doubt? If anyone is having doubts. So okay. So basically, I will create a main method. So in this main method, let us go with. Okay. Um, Array list. So I will say integer here. So whenever you're specifying the data type here, okay, whenever you're specifying the data type for that particular data only, for that particular types only, you can create your collections. Understood? So whenever you're specifying a data type over here, so for that particular type only, you can create the collection. Okay. So here I will say al dot add, I will say 10. So al dot add 20. So I'll say al dot add 30 and al dot add 40. Okay, so there are particularly 4 elements here. So as we have indexes, we have get, sorry, al dot. So I will go with get. So we have to specify the index value. We have to specify the index value. So whenever you are specifying the index value, at that particular index, whatever the element is present, you can access it. Okay. So to access a single element, you have to, so you can use get method. Okay. So get method is used to obtain a single element. Understood about get method? Understood about get method? So I want to pick only one single element. Then we will be using a get method. Okay. So these methods are accessing elements in a array list. Okay. So these are basically accessing elements in an array list. Okay. Next. So we can do one thing. Okay. So next is we can do one thing. So I will say iterator is equals to al.iterator. So what am I doing here? I am calling a iterator on the array list. What are we calling? We are calling a iterator on the array list. Okay. So whenever you're calling a iterator on the array list, what happens? Basically, oh shit, sorry. Basically, what happens? So my array list is in the point of 10, 20, 30, 40. So there are 4 elements. So now what happens? So now basically what happens whenever you call a iterator, whenever you are calling a iterator. So iterator means a pointer. Okay, a pointer will be there. So which will be pointing outside the array list. Okay. So now where is the position of your iterator? Now where is the position of your iterator? Inside the array list or outside the array list? Is it inside the array list or outside the array list? It is standing outside the array list. After this pointer, do you have elements? Do we have elements? Yes, I have. We have. Basically, we have 4 elements. Okay. So whenever I say yes, so yes, so here what I will say, iterator dot next method. So after this pointer, what is the current element? It will be returned by next method. Okay, it will be returned by. Okay, I'll comment this. So now if I execute, so basically the element which is present after the pointer will be given to you. Okay, so to check if the element is present or not, to check if the element is present or not in the array list, what you can do, iterator dot has next. Okay, has next will give you boolean value. Has next will give us what? Has next will give us a boolean value. Okay, so I'll continue the same part. So here, so we are getting second element. We are getting a second element. So again after this, after 20, do we have elements? Do we have elements? Yes, we have elements. It is giving you the answer. So again after this, again if I do, so we have reached 40. After 40, are there any elements with us? Do we have any elements after 40? So as there are no elements, your iterators has next method will give you false as the answer, and if you try to access, you will get no such element exception. What we will get? We will get no such element exception. Understood about next and has next method? So basically, next and has next method are present in iterator. So these both are methods of iterator. Understood? Understood? So your has next method will give you the boolean value. Next method will give you the whatever the element which is present in the array list that will be given to you. Understood? But the disadvantage, so I have reached the last member. And if I want to go in reverse after reaching the end point, if I want to travel in reverse, it is not possible with only just iterator. With only just iterator, it is not possible. So to enable that, we have list iterator. What do we have? We have something called as list iterator. Okay. So I'll show you the example of it is similar to your iterator. But the advanced method, the extra method, whatever we have is so. So I have reached the last element. So I can go with iterator dot has previous method. So whenever we go with has previous method, it comes in reverse direction. See here. Now it has started to come in a reverse direction. So the same thing I can repeat it for 3 more elements. So if you want both the forward iteration and the reverse iteration, you have to go with list iterator. See here, from here to here, we have done with the help of next and has next method. But from here, we have done with the help of previous and has previous method. Understood the use of iterator? Understood the usage of iterator and list iterator? So do you have any questions? Do you guys have any questions in this get method, in this iterator, in this list iterator? Do you guys have any doubts? So shall I go with the next method? Okay. If there are no doubts, let us proceed with the next example. So here, let me say L4. Okay. So here I will say new array list. Okay. So I will say list dot add 50, list dot add 35, list dot add 10, list dot add 20, and list dot add 50. So whenever I print the list, so we'll get a whatever in which order I have added, I will get the list. So to sort this, what we can do is collections dot sort. I will pass the list. So whenever I use collections dot sort, this gets by default sorted in the ascending order. Basically, we have a class called as collections. What do we have? We have a class called as collections. So to sort your members, you have sort method. Okay. After sorting only, you can go with reverse. After sorting only, you can go with reverse. Before sorting it, we cannot reverse it. Understood? So basically, whenever you have a unsorted array list, you have to call collections.sort method so that your collection by default gets sorted in the ascending order. And whenever I call a reverse method, your array list gets sorted in the descending order. Understood? Understood? So let me know if you guys have any questions. So here, so here one more thing. So here, let me create a array list. array list of integer a is equals to new array list. So I will say al dot add 10, al dot add 20, al dot add 30, and al dot add 40. Okay, so here we can go with for each loop. Which loop is this? This is basically for each loop. So here you will be passing your element. You will be passing your array list, and here you will be mentioning the data type. Okay. So here what I can do is so I can say here dot get method, or just I can go with integer. So this complete array list will be passed to this variable. Okay, this complete array list will be passed to this integer, and each loop. So here there is no initialization, there is no condition, and there is no termination. Okay, so first one argument will be your array list, second argument will be your data type. So any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? Let me refresh my chat. Do you guys have any doubt in for each loop? Do you guys have any doubt in for each loop? Okay. Are you guys in the class or are you guys watching IPL? Guys? Are you guys watching IPL or are you guys physically available in the class? How many of you have doubt in for each loop? How many of you have doubt in for each loop? Okay, see here. I have specifically created an array list of So basically what we have, what type of list we have? So we are having a list of integers. Okay. So how many elements are there in your how many elements are there in your array list? So there are basically 4 elements. We were using this for loop, right? For int I is equals to 0, I less than. So this format we were using, right? So instead of that, what you can do, you can use this for each loop. Okay. Basically, here you will be mentioning the data type. What will you be mentioning? You will be mentioning the data type here. And this argument, this argument will be your array list type. Understood? So this is your array list and you will be mentioning the data type. So if it is any other data type, you will be mentioning the data type. So I just want to print it. So system.out.println, I am passing the variable which I have mentioned here. So what happens? This variable will access each and every member of the loop and it performs the operation. So what is the operation I am doing here? I am just printing the members. So it gets printed for you. Understood? So if I want to do any operations, plus equals 10 I will do. See, your elements get. So for every element, it will access and it will do the operations whatever you are mentioning over there. Anyone has any doubts? Please, guys, this is frequently used in almost all of your projects whenever you go in the further things. So shall I explain you? So basically in the previous example, we have sorted a list of integer. What we have sorted? We have sorted a list of integer. And if I go to the declaration of integer, see what it is saying here. What it is implementing? What it is implementing? Comparable interface. What it is implementing? It is comparable interface. So whenever you're adding anything of integer type, okay, anything of integer type, these are by default comparable. These are what in these are what are in format? These are in these are in comparable in format. So that is why all the elements are compared with each other. All the elements are compared with each other, and whenever you are calling sort method, these gets sorted in the ascending order. So this is a built-in class. Integer is a built-in class. But for example, what I will do, I will create a class. Let's create a class. So here, let me say student. So student will have int id, comma, sorry, int id and string name. So let me create some constructors. And let us also override a toString. Okay. So this is all known to us. Okay. So to make elements of student class of comparable type, what I have to do, I have to go with, I have to make the class implement comparable interface. First step, what you have to do, you have to make the class implement comparable interface. And you have to override which method? You have to override compare to method. Okay. You have to override compare to method. Okay. In this, your logic is all whenever you're comparing the element. Okay. Whenever you're comparing the element, select a attribute. Select an attribute which is easy, for comparison, Okay. Out of id and name, id is quite easy to compare. Out of id and name, your id is easy to compare. Yes or no? So here there are 3 points. If so, there are 3 conditions. Okay, there are 3 conditions. One of the condition is if id is equals to o dot id. Okay, if id is equals to o dot id, so this is current object compared with the past object. Okay, id belongs to current object, o dot id belongs to past object. Okay, by default, whenever you are sorting it, 2 objects will be taken for consideration. So here, if they are equal, you have to pass 0. What do you have to pass? You have to pass 0. Else if id is less than o dot id. So if it is less, so I will pass 1. Else I will pass -1. Else I will pass -1. So this is your fixed comparison steps. If they are equal, what you have to return? 0. If the current one is less, you have to return 1. If it is -1, you have to return. So if it is greater, you have to pass -1. Okay. So Now your student class is comparable type. So now, uh, let me create a test class. A test class. So array list of I'll create of student type list is equals to new array list. Okay, new array list. So I will say list dot add new student. I will say 105. Hari. So I'll make this as 102, 103, 101, and 104. So here I will say Guna. Here I will say Mona. Aman. Rose. So we have used this. We have done this. So now if I have to do it, so what I have to do, collections dot sort. So I will pass the list. So after sorting, what I can go with for each loop. So here, so student dot id plus aqua student dot name. So ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ. Observe your IDs here. 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. So it is sorted in. It is sorted in descending order. It is sorted in descending order. If you reverse this case, it. So for example, what I will do, if it is greater, I will pass -1, else 1. So whenever I do this, if it is greater, it is -1, else 1. See here. If it is greater, if you are passing +1, you will get it in ascending order. You will get it in ascending order. But for the same thing, if you want it in reverse, what will you do? You will go with less than. Just change this to less than. So you'll get it in reverse order. Got the difference? So if you make it as greater, you will get it in ascending order. And if you make it as less than, you will get it in descending. Understood how to sort a custom sorting using comparable interface? So to custom sort array list, what you have to do? You have to implement the class to the comparable interface. And you have to override the compare to method. So if it is same, 0. So if it is less than 1 and else -1. So if you are doing in this format, you will get the descending order. If you want to get the ascending order, change this operator. You will get it in ascending order. Understood? Understood? Okay, buddies. So this was your array list class. Okay. We will go with set and map tomorrow. Okay. Most probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we will be finishing your Java sessions. Okay, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you for attending the sessions. If you're having any doubts, please let me know and I'll rectify your doubts. Thank you, buddies. Have a great evening. Let's meet tomorrow.